Hi all, my name's Bella and I'm the creator behind the Craft by Bella store. Today I'm coming to you with the third episode of the Craft by Bella podcast. I thought I'd start off today's podcast a little bit differently by telling you what I'm wearing, because I'm actually wearing one of my handmade things for once. So I'm wearing the Shanti Hat, which I showed as a finished object in the first episode, because it's a bit chilly today. But today's episode is going to have quite a few works in progress, a few finished objects and some other things thrown in there, so I hope you enjoy. So we'll start off with some finished objects. My first finished object is a beanie. I didn't use a pattern for this one, but I used a 5mm hook and some yarn that I dyed as an experiment. It's a 50% acrylic, 50% wool composition, so I just wanted to see how it would dye up. It actually dyed up rather well and I'm quite happy with it. But there's my first finished object. My second, third and fourth finished object are all the same pattern, but I actually don't have two of them here to show. But they're just some super quick fingerless gloves. I made 3 pairs of these, but I've sold a few at the markets. All for about similar sizes. I used a 5mm hook again for these. And then the fifth finished object I also don't have here. It was an order for the markets, but it was a pair of half-inch gloves using the Jersey Metz pattern. I slightly modified the pattern. I added a few stitches so the fingers were slightly wider, but I used this yarn, which is Lincraft sock yarn in the colour number 356. I used 3.5mm hook for the ribbing of the gloves and a 4mm hook for the hand and the fingers. The lady who ordered them was super happy with them, so that's great. So my last finished objects are actually some sewing projects. Over the last few weeks I've been sewing some project bags before the sewing machine jammed. We need to fix that. But I'll just show you some that I've got in use now. So these are a few that I've got in use. Just a really simple drawstring pouch, which are a good size for most projects I do. I've got a whole stack of them here. But I'll insert a picture now, hopefully, to show you them all laid out. But that's my last finished object. Okay, so next up I have a lot of works in progress, so sorry this may take a while. But my first work in progress is being housed in this bag, which I got from one of the markets I attend. And it is the basic crochet socks with heel flap. So I finished the first sock, which I showed last episode. There's the first one. And this is the second one. So last time I showed it was up here on the ribbing. And I've gotten it down to the heel turn now, so I've done the leg since last time, finished the ribbing, done the leg, done the heel flap and done the heel turn, so now I have to do gusset, decreases, foot and toe, and then it will be done. This is the yarn I'm using. It's Shiloh wool on her sock base in the colourway Bridgewater blue, and I'm using a 3mm hook for this project. So my next work in progress is being housed in this project bag that I sewed recently that I just showed before. It is a seed stitch cowl. I'm using a 5.5mm hook for this one, and this is my progress so far. So this is the fabric that's working. Oh my god, the bag just dropped. Hang on. So this is the fabric that's working up so far. I'm quite happy with it. And the yarn that I'm using is some Handspun from one of my regular markets. It's 100% wool, just in natural colour, and I'm really happy with how that one's working up. So this is my next work in progress, but it's a bit of an upsetting story. I'll just show you what I've done. So this is supposed to be the Malia wrist warmers, and I'm using some of my Handspun, one of the older ones, for this. It was an art bat, I believe, from the Handspinners and Weavers Guild in Adelaide. This is what I had done so far, but I've seamed it wrong, so I need to rip this out and start again. But I'm happy with the stitch pattern and all of that, so when I get some time I'll get around to ripping that back and starting again. I'm using a 5.5mm hook for the hand portion, and then you work some ribbing down here in a 5mm hook. But that's the Malia wrist warmers. So my next work in progress is being housed in this tote bag, and it is the knit patchwork jumper. So I'm using 2.75mm needles for this project, and all the yarn that I'm using for this project is from Vicki Brown Designs Mini Seam Club. I order the random club every month in the sock weight yarn, and all of the yarn in this project is from those clubs over the last 7 or so months. So last time I showed this project, I'd only finished one patch. This is in the Vernus colourway. And then the progress I've made is I've finished another patch in this colourway. Last time I showed it, it was down at this stitch marker, about 12 rows in. But I've actually had to rip back this whole patch because I realised I was twisting my net stitches, but it's all good now. I finished that. That's the second one in the Vernus colourway. And I'm now going to put the remains of that 20g mini aside for a crochet patchwork jumper, which I'm doing 2 patchwork jumpers with all the yarn. So I've picked out my next colourway, which is, sorry for the terrible German in advance, Stechpalme, which means holly in German. And this is the first patch so far, and I'm really happy with how this one's working up. This is the ball. There's a lot more green and blue tones through there that I'm not sure are picking up on the camera. But I'm really happy with how this project's coming along. So just quickly before I go into my last work in progress, which is a cross stitch, I wanted to show some yarn that I've got a plan for, so you guys can hold me accountable to actually casting on this project. So it's in this project bag that I got from the 7th girl down at Fibre Feast. And this yarn is from a local to me dyer, Yarn Knots. It's this gorgeous colourway, which I believe is called Nights, but someone please correct me if I'm wrong. It isn't labelled with a colourway, just their brand, so this is their label. But I think this colourway is absolutely gorgeous, and I've picked out the pattern the Slow Hat, which is a crochet hat that works up to look like a knit hat. So hopefully that will really show off this gorgeous yarn. There's some gorgeous speckling through here, and I'd highly recommend checking her out if you haven't already. All of the links will be down in the description box. I haven't mentioned that yet, but all of the show notes will be down in the description box, and I'll link her down there. So as I just mentioned, my last work in progress is actually a cross stitch pattern. So the pattern I'm using is the Sassy Bookmarks by Lincraft. I talked about her last episode, and this is my progress so far. I'm not even halfway through the pattern, but I'm actually making this as a birthday present for my sister, and her birthday's at the start of August, so I've really got to get a move on with this, but I'm happy with how it looks so far, and the pattern's really nice to follow. So I've also got some finished spinning to show you now. Apologies in advance, they're all labelled for markets, but this is the first finished spin. It was the half finished spin from last episode. I spun this out of 100% merino roving, and the roving was in the colourway Iron Bank, I believe. But this came out to be 71 grams, about 118 metres, and I'm really happy with those colours. The next finished spin is this one. So this is spun from Kathy's Fibres in her sparkliest fibre base. I believe one of the plies was the Autumn Leaves colourway, and the other one was just an undyed colourway. But this was a rather chunky spin. It came out to be 100 grams and about 60 metres to those 100 grams. But that's that one. And then the last finished spin I have to show you is this one. This I spun out of some Rolags that I got down at Fibre Feast from the Hand Spinners and Weavers Guild. And in those Rolags there was wool, silk, angora, cashmere and tencel. This spin ended up being 79 grams and about 124 metres. So that's that one. I really like the colours in this one. All of my spins are 2-plies, that's just my preferred method of plying, and I'm really happy with how these two came out. Okay, so I've also just got a really quick incoming goodies section. So my Mini Skiing Club box arrived from Vicki Brown Designs. Here's her card. I ordered the 20 gram random box in sock weight, and I believe this is June's box. So here are mini skeins. I'm sorry that's terribly shown. I'll show them individually, shall I? So you get 5 mini skeins every month in either an ombre set or a random set, and you can either get 10 grams or 20 grams and either DK or sock weight. And I just find it's a really great way to experiment with new colours you wouldn't always experiment with, and also you get a bunch of really cute mini skeins, so I feel like it's a win-win situation. Okay, so just quickly before I finish the episode, I wanted to mention that I will be having an Etsy shop update on the 31st of July. So if there's anything you've been eyeing off from the shop news section of last episode, it will be listed on the Etsy shop on the 31st of July if it didn't sell at the markets this month. I'd love to hear any feedback you have for me in the comments section down below, and I'd also love to hear what you're working on down in the comments section below. All the show notes and shops I've mentioned will be in the description box. I hope you've enjoyed this episode, and I hope you have a good few weeks until I next record.